if Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
But how will you do that?
I promise you we'll be able to do it.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Benny. Remember the global war on terror where they bankrupted my generation and then shipped us off to the deserts of the world to die in a slaughterhouse for a country in a city whose name you can't even pronounce? For why exactly? What are we fighting for? I can't remember. Democracy in Afghanistan? How'd that all work out? That seemed to be really awesome. Hey, but at least America still has its founding principles, right? At least America would never actually openly fund terrorism whilst we're still engaged in the global war on terror, right? That could never happen. Or can it? Check out this reporting that just broke from the Washington Post. U.S. intelligence had detailed Ukrainian plan to attack Nord Stream pipeline. Oh, okay. So we knew about it. And actually probably blew up the detonators ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. The CIA learned last June via a European spy agency that a 6-person team of Ukrainian special operations forces intended to blow up the Russia to Germany natural gas project. And we did nothing? Or we helped them? 3 months before the saboteurs bombed the Nord Stream natural gas pipeline, the Biden administration learned from a close ally that the Ukrainian military had planned to covert attack on the underseas network using a small team of divers who reported directly to the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian armed forces. Details about the plan, which have not been previously reported, were collected by European intelligence services and shared to the CIA in June. They provided some of the most specific evidence to date, linking the governments of Ukraine to the attack in the Baltic Sea. Western officials have called a brazen and dangerous act of sabotage of Europe's energy infrastructure. European intelligence agency, which shared the chat platform Discord, allegedly by the National Guard member, the Washington Post obtained a copy from one of his online friends. The intelligence report was based on information obtained from an individual in Ukraine. The source's information could not immediately be corroborated. Well, this is very curious. So the CIA and American intelligence knew about a extremely sophisticated plan to blow up a pipeline at the bottom of the ocean to emit more CO2 and carbon into the atmosphere than has ever happened at any single point in American history. These, by the way, these are the environmentalists, by the way, who did this. And either turned a blind eye or assisted, depending on who you read. If you're reading Seymour Hersh, you'll know that America assisted in this plot to blow up this pipeline. You'll know that Joe Biden and Victoria Nuland, who are the architects of this terrorism in Eastern Europe, that these two individuals had promised that the Nord Stream pipeline would be blown up multiple times. They celebrated and danced on the grave of the Nord Stream pipeline because they want Europe to be totally energy dependent on America and not on Russia. Now, you could argue whether that's good or bad, but ladies and gentlemen, don't be deceived. Our country incentivized the blowing up of this Nord Stream pipeline. This is the greatest act of international economic terrorism in my lifetime. Ukraine was behind it. Or is this all a psyop as well? Who knows at this point? Seymour Hersh, Kim.com, a number of other people have said flatly there is an enormous amount of data, flight logs, and reconnaissance data to prove that the American military was involved in the explosion of this pipeline. And that this was all done during the Baltops military exercise there in the Baltic Sea. I think there's a huge preponderance of evidence on it. We've done those videos. We'll have a link to a video, actually, that we've done on that at the end of this video. But, more importantly, are we the baddies? Have we funded the terrorists here? Are we the ones funding the terrorism now? Are we the baddies? Check this out from also this morning. A strategic dam in Russia-occupied Ukraine has been blown up. Oh, interesting. Well, who's really good at blowing things up in this part of the world? Thousands are at risk of flooding in southern Ukraine, with Moscow and Kiev blaming each other for the strategic Russian-held hydroelectric dam blowing up. The dam on the Dnipro River is a strategic water source for Russia-annexed Crimea Peninsula. Flooding after the dam blew up could potentially block Ukrainian forces from seeking to regain lost territory. The damage has also increased fears of a nuclear incident because a nuclear power plant relies on its reservoir for cooling. Oh, cool. This is great. Everything is great. People are saying that there's effectively a massive cover-up here, that Ukraine had been planning to blow up this dam for a very long time. New York Times in April 2022 on Ukraine intentionally flooding one of its villages when the troops opened a nearby dam. This was not an outlier, the article adds. Ukraine has been swift and effective at wreaking havoc on its own territory and destroying its own infrastructure. It's almost like we're funding the terrorists. Washington Post article from December 2022, Ukraine conducted a test strike on this same dam in preparation for an offensive. Considered flooding the river, the Ukrainians even said he conducted a test strike on one of the floodgates for this exact same dam. Got it? WAPO reported that Ukraine conducted a test strike. Well, kind of like what they did with the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, ladies and gentlemen. Kim.com, one of our favorites on Twitter, saying U.S. intelligence points to Russia being behind the dam attack. You see, because Russia is the one who would want to flood all of the territory that they just fought over in Ukraine, make it uninhabitable, and then kill off the water supply to Crimea. You see, that makes a lot of sense. Just like blowing up their own pipeline. They're the ones who told you that Russia got Trump elected. Russia blew up Nord Stream. That the U.S. proxy war in Ukraine was unprovoked Russian aggression, and that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. That's actually a great point there. U.S. intelligence suggesting Russia destroyed dam in Ukraine. Biden administration is working to declassify the intelligence. We can't get the images of the documents that prove that Joe Biden is a criminal and a bribery scam in Ukraine, but they'll declassify the intelligence about Russia blowing up their own dam. You see, because that's what you do. You go and you destroy all of the infrastructure that you just fought and conquered for. What a cluster F. What a cluster F right now that we are involved in. Now, listen, I don't know. I am not 100% convinced that Ukraine blew up this dam or that they blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Here's what I do know. That America funding this Ukrainian war effort is 100% behind the destruction, the pain, and the suffering these people are now going to feel. Because if America had just instead insisted on a ceasefire, and then both sides come to the table, had insisted on an off-ramp in this, then none of this would have happened. That's what I do know. None of this destruction, none of this death would have happened. None of these horrors would have happened. But instead, America continues to side with the terrorists in this situation, which, by the way, there's no other way to describe this. This is terrorism, okay? So did America blow up the pipeline? I don't know. I think the evidence seems to point to the fact that we did. And at the very least, the corporate press is saying that we knew about it. We knew about the plans, and we did nothing to stop it. So at least they're meeting us halfway here. And so that means we're complicit in it. And America's complicit in the destruction of this nation and maybe the start of World War III because our leadership is corrupted by Ukraine, and there is an enormous preponderance of criminal evidence against them hidden in Ukraine, and they want to destroy the evidence. That I do know. That I do know. Too bad, ladies and gentlemen. Too bad. What a sad, sad thing to have to watch as a patriot who loves this country, but who will continue to fight, as patriots always have, for the best future for our nation. And the best future for our nation is to get the hell out of Ukraine, to get the hell out of these Eastern European border battles, and to demand peace, which is what you should do as a strong nation, not to demand further war and destruction and terrorism. Are we the baddies? It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. See ya.